Hello, welcome to my channel, A Pink and Blue Shark. My name is Zoe. I am supposed to be sleeping, but instead, I couldn't stop thinking about this video that I saw earlier today on the Voidzilla channel. Yeah, so I saw this video from Coffeezilla, actually from the channel is Voidzilla. I really like Coffeezilla, or Coffee. I don't know how to refer to this person. He was very honest and asked difficult questions. He had this interview with a who is this person? Mikey Black. Yeah, let's
Ladies
check
and gentlemen, we have Mike Black. You're going viral right now for some interesting reasons.
No, I think his name is
You ran
Mikey.
a social experiment a few
I think he
years
prefers
ago
Mikey.
where you were a millionaire. Is that correct?
Yeah, millionaire goes homeless to prove that anyone can make $1 million in 12 months.
Anyone can make $1 million.
That's what's going on, yeah.
People are upset. Do you understand why?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I completely understand why people are upset. I would be upset, too, if I read that headline.
Hold on. I think the editing might play into this. You could cut this a little earlier and I think it would be less weird. But it is weird. It feels, to me, a little less than authentic. This feels like he has told the story of how you'd react reading about it or whatever. I don't know. The expression here was
Oh,
just...
yeah, 100%. I completely understand why people are upset.
Like,
I
so...
would be upset, too, if I read that headline.
That seemed very practiced. I'm not a bodyologist. What are they called? Masseuse. I'm not a masseuse.
What is the real story in your view?
Yeah, so in my view, I mean, this project I did was called the $1 Million Comeback Project. I started it July 10th, 2020, and this was like the height of COVID. I don't know if you remember how different the world was then. It was a lot of uncertainty, people losing their jobs and all this stuff. And, if you've ever seen someone that's like really successful and they tweet and they'll say like, here's what I would do if I started over. If I started over, this is exactly what I would do. Well, this project...
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I see a lot of that. I think maybe we just run in different circles.
Tweeting about that, it was like, let's do this. Let's start over and let's document it and give people a framework. They're actually starting over, because I had a lot of friends, people I knew that were they're going through a lot of challenges. And I knew that if they were going through challenges, other people were going through challenges. And that meant a lot of people might be losing their job and they're gonna start their first business they've ever started, or they're gonna make a big life change. And this is an opportunity to show people like, hey, instead of like tweeting and being like, here's what I would do if I started over, what if I actually start over? And I document it. And there's a couple of reasons for this. And the mindset I had around doing it this way.
Okay. I understand now why. So basically there are successful people like him that normally they just tweet about starting over. Then there are the other people that are actually starting over. But actually it's like this big opportunity or something. It sounds like they're all starting businesses. And so he didn't want to just tweet. He wanted to experience this for himself.
And mainly what I wanted to do is share with people a framework. Okay, here's what I'm doing during this project, and it's all unfiltered. It's not BS. It's like, this is what's happening every single day. We filmed every single day, like it's all captured, and we didn't hide anything from people.
I can't speak to that, but I don't really like millionaires. So I don't know that I could sit through watching this person pontificate on the difficulties of the world or whatever. I'm sure he has a lot of insight. I'm sure he has plenty of things to say.
The good and the extremely bad, which the project got extremely bad. So part of it too is just like, showing people it's okay to mess up. It's okay to mess up. You gotta embrace that, because a lot of people, they see people that are maybe successful and they just think like, oh, it's easy for them to do it. They don't screw up at all, and that's completely not true. So I want to kind of normalize it and embrace like, hey, you're gonna screw up. Look how many times I screwed up. It's great. A lot more times I'd like to admit during that project, but
I mean, that's generally good advice. I think this is a weird perspective. I don't look at people that are quote-unquote successful and say, well, I bet they never make any mistakes. I actually look at most of the people that are considered successful and I say, look at all the fucking mistakes these people make and they just get away with it. That just doesn't matter. He looks at these other millionaires and billionaires, whatever, and says, I bet they never make mistakes, and I'm over here making mistakes. I guess that's what he's trying to convey, unless he thinks only the plebes look up to the elites like him and think so highly of him. I do not think rich people are infallible. I think they are awful. I don't think that they do much good at all, and I don't think that they deserve what they have. In other words, I'm saying we should eat them. Barbecue.
that was the purpose of the project. And, with what you're saying, can you understand why people are getting upset? The reason the answer is yes is because it's been twisted with other people's words that
it's been sensationalized. I think it's fair to say there have been two people who sort of took your story, repackaged it, went super viral with it. They both had similar headlines, not exactly the same headline. Both got 8 million views and 35 million views. Now, when I first saw this, the takeaway I had was that the reason I think it went viral is, you know, some people saw it and they go, oh, this is so inspiring. I saw it and I said, I felt like you kind of proved how big a role luck plays in success, which sort of was the opposite of what the headline was kind of saying, which is,
This is the part that I specifically remember feeling was very questionable.
you know, millionaire goes homeless to prove, you know, anyone can do it. Anyone could be a millionaire. Ironically, and also unfortunately, you had a string of bad luck towards the end of your challenge. Your dad got terminal cancer. You got 2 autoimmune diseases. You had to stop the challenge for the sake of, you know, prioritizing your health. But I think that raised the question in a lot of people's heads of, A, a lot of people don't have the luxury of, you know, they can't stop being like not well off. And then also it kind of, in some people's view, pokes a hole in the idea. They're like, oh, anyone could do this. Well, yeah, anyone who doesn't have a dad who has terminal cancer or anyone who, you know, has normal health struggles. Does that resonate with you?
Okay, so just to recap, because that was kind of a long thing here. As I believe Coffee's asking, luck played into this, right? And you set out to prove that anyone can become rich. And yet you yourself hit these problems, so not everyone obviously can do it. What do you think of that? Feels like there's a couple of things in there, but let's just hear what he has to say about how much luck played a role and just how likely it is that
There's
anyone can do it.
Address there. So I actually think the reason it's going super viral isn't because of that perspective. Even though, you know, there's some people that might think that. I think it's going viral because there's you know, the tweet specifically that went extremely viral. It's a headline that gets people angry. Like, I would get angry if I saw that. It says something like, you know, millionaire goes homeless as a social experiment. Like, if I read that, I'd be like, what? Like, what a piece of shit. And then
I could be that I don't remember. Coffee's question was, do you think luck played any part in this? And can everyone do this? I feel like that was kind of it. Talking about the tweet.
The second headline after that says, to prove anyone can make $1 million in just 12 months.
Yeah.
So it was like twisting, like, I would never in a million years say anyone can make $1 million in 12 months. That wasn't the point of the project. That was not what it was, but it was those 2 individuals are very good at making things go viral. And that's what we didn't do at all during the project. If you go look at the project, by the end of the
Okay. I misunderstood that part. I believe he was saying that the second question, the second kind of like part of Coffee's question was wrongly premised. That his goal was not to say that everyone can do it. So, okay. I don't really understand what the goal of this was. I think it might have been, here's how rich people can do it. I don't know. I don't know what this is meant to prove exactly. Like, is it just I can do it again? Like, okay, I guess. I'm really curious what the actual goal is.
300 subs, because that wasn't the intention. It wasn't about, like, you know, the homelessness and you know, people are super fixated on that because of the way it was twisted. But, you know, I completely understand why people feel the way they do. It's the headline's, you know, crazy, and it's not what we were intending to do at all.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I don't really feel like that answered the question super well. Let's see, let's see, Copy. What's the follow-up?
Your actual video where you quit, and I was listening to you, and you had a point about gratitude and health, which I resonated with. I'm like, being grateful is huge. Health is huge. You know, I thought that was all good. And then I was kind of like, my head like cocked to the side when I hear you go like, and that's when I realized, like, you know, it's basically, you kind of doubled down on the idea, like, it's mindset. It's no matter where you are, you're not a victim, you're not this. And I was thinking, I understand the framing of you have ownership and you have to take ownership. I get you have to. But you were a victim in this story, like literally a victim of something completely out of your control that stopped you from doing what you wanted to do. And I think sometimes there's a survivorship bias with successful people where there are factors that play huge roles in outcomes. Like, for example, you're struggling at the beginning, somebody luckily offers you to stay with them. Or you are looking for a house hack, and sure, you're contacting people, but basically someone takes a lot of risk basically to help you. They were going to get some upside, but it was ultimately to help you. And then you have this, so those both played huge swings. And then you have this other side, which is like the health component, which played huge swings in how you fared in the end. And I just, I thought that...
Is this in swings?
And then you have this other side, which is like the health component, which played huge swings in how you fared in the end.
Kind of says swings.
I thought that maybe the takeaway from you was different than it was for me, and how I felt a lot of people were interpreting it. And I think maybe there's a divide in how people are interpreting it. It leads some people to think this is, a heroic story. Some people think you accidentally proved the opposite of what you set out to prove. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I mean,
Okay, so the question is, what did you take away from this? And did you actually prove whatever you set out to prove?
I don't like being painted as a victim. Like I know, like that was the worst part about all this. I didn't want like sympathy for like the health of my dad, because that was, it was crazy because it was the most devastating thing that ever happened to me in my entire life got filmed and documented. What happened to my dad was super unfortunate. My autoimmune disease, I've had that since 2018. And I think that project, I didn't, want to completely admit this, but the stress from my dad, because I was good during the project in the beginning, but then when my dad got diagnosed and I was told he was going to have 12 to 18 months, I think the stress from that just it was
that sounds
bad. Like my hands, my feet, my joints, my hips, like it was just pain. And then like the chronic fatigue, like it would take me like hours to get out of bed because I was just so tired. So when I did quit the project, I know I talked about in the video, a lot of it, looking back, and it's been like 3 or 4 years, so it's hard to also like kind of completely put myself in the same like headspace that I was then. But a lot of it too was like I put so much time, energy, and effort into doing this project, and it just got completely derailed. It completely derailed. I wasn't proud of like what we were putting out, and then my health took this turn, and then I wasn't spending time with my dad. And I tried not to say this very often on camera, but like the word terminal cancer. But, that's what we were told. Like it was like 12 to 18 months. And, I was kind of optimistic about like, hey, I can.
I'm struggling because I don't want to. I know it's recording, but it feels rude to interrupt when he's talking about such heavy stuff. Yeah, I don't understand what this has to do with the question. So far, Coffeezilla, and I retrace back to the question. She asked, some people say you're a hero, some people say you're a villain. And I think that's the kind of the key question that Mike took away from it. When I think Coffeezilla's question was more of like, what did you take away from this that says you're not the villain? Right? That's, I think, kind of what he's getting at is like, can you show us that you learned something out of this? Mike's response was, I'm not a victim. And then he talked for a few minutes or something, like for a little bit, about the way things were bad. I still want to say that I was a victim. I just don't know what else you would say this. What is the point of this story? Is it evidence of why he couldn't do the project? Like, I don't care. Like, I don't see the relevance of this story. It feels a bit like he doesn't understand the question. Maybe. If I'm being charitable, I could say he heard the last thing the Coffeezilla said, and he just responded, but whatever you wanted to say about that, I guess. I myself was very curious to hear how he had learned. And maybe he'll get to it. Maybe, yeah, he's not done talking. Let's be fair.
Maybe there's something we can do. And the more and more people I talk to, because I was spending so much time just talking to stage 4 cancer survivors. And the more I learned, the more I was like, this is really, really bad. And that's life. that happens. And what I like about the project is I set out to do something and was super far off from the vanity metric, the financial vanity metric I set for myself. And that's what happens.
The vanity metric. The vanity metric of $1 million. That's such a weird way to talk about things. I don't know. Like, I think I understand what he means is it's like, it's not a real... I think he's trying to cope, but he's saying it's not really... Like, it wasn't the actual goal. It's like, it's aspirational or something. Just, rich people are fucking weird. Why do they say such weird?
Hiding behind something. It's all public. And that's how everything went down. And that I'm like really happy about. People got to see what happens when life gets served. And I thought that was one of the cooler things about the project. But it does suck. Like the videos after, month 4, I think it was month 4, my dad had got diagnosed. I wish I just had ended it then, but it was a lot riding on what was going on because I had, a bunch of full-time team members. And then I really, I didn't want to quit because like my dad, he was like, you can't quit. Like, and I didn't want to put that on him and be like, you know what, I'm going to end this. And then he feels super bad about that. So yeah, that's, I don't know if I ranted a little bit there. I apologize if I did, but that's pretty much kind of from my perspective. I hope that answers your question.
No, I appreciate your perspective because...
Did it answer the question? I just want to go back. I really want to make sure that I understood Coffeezilla's question.
1 hour later.
I watched Coffee's question again. It's pretty clear. He's basically saying, I don't think you took away from this experience the same thing that I think I would take away. What do you think of that? Yeah, I don't think Mikey answered that question at all. What was very ironic, was really the most ironic, was that the question was not about, do you feel like you are a victim? The question had nothing to do with that. It had to do with, do you feel like this mindset idea, this, you just have to power through the difficult things idea, is that actually still your position? And he starts out by talking about how he doesn't play victim. Don't get him wrong. And then he talks for minutes and minutes about all the things that went wrong and why he had to whatever. And yes, it's strange because Toffee's not asking him to account for why the project ended. And he's acting as though that's what he has to do. I don't know. Rich people, they make me angry. They just make me flat out very mad. They have no empathy. They don't actually understand how people think. They don't have to. I'm really curious about his series. If anybody watching would like me to watch it, I don't know. It might be awful. It might be really painful. Oh, yeah. So here's the comments. By the way, for those who don't want to math, Mike says he made 50% or less profit for that $64,000 revenue. That means $32K profit, which comes out to about $15 an hour for the experiment. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'm being too critical. I feel that maybe Mikey thought this was like a just so friendly chat about his experience or something, instead of it being like an interview with somebody that actually asked him pretty difficult questions. I do think it's weird whenever somebody answers a question that wasn't asked, and I don't really know how people do that, and I hopefully don't do that myself. It's such a strange thing to do. But at any rate, I thought that was maybe enlightening, is the way to put it, I guess. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe. And also, that I have a Patreon. It's $2 a month to help me fund me. I'm making video games, or I'm trying to make a idle clicker right now called Mega Church. I need to do a bunch of artwork, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of streaming, I think. Just wanted to thank my patrons, Hell's Bows and Alita D, I'm Cool High Fives, and Dan H. What else could I say? You know what? I hope that you're having a good week. I hope that you are feeling good. And if you're feeling bad, Like, I hope you feel better.
Oh yeah, 100%. I completely understand why people are upset. I would be upset too if I read that headline.